Welcome back to SykeseSpeaks. Recently, I've been observing a shift in the content creation landscape, with many creators opting for a return to basics, focusing on personal stories, imparting wisdom, or dispensing advice on a variety of life aspects. This movement resonated with me, prompting me to utilize the SykeseSpeaks channel in a similar vein. This way I can consistently deliver content here while dedicating the necessary effort to enhance the quality of my main channel videos. I won't promise daily uploads, but I am committed and will try my best to keep a regular posting schedule on this channel. Today's video spans across several years and is something that I've brought up before in main videos, but something I've never fully gone into. For a lot of people, it can be kind of weird to talk about, it can be uncomfortable, it can even be gross, but I hope that by talking about it in full, I can provide more insight into how my life revolves around it and how that can affect video making at the same time. Plus, maybe some of you watching also relate to these struggles and can find some similar ground there. It was one afternoon in June 2016. I just graduated from high school and was ready to begin my time at university. I went to the bathroom as per usual, except this time noticed something wasn't right. It was hurting a lot more than expected, and it was hurting to the point that I felt like puking. Afterward, what I noticed made me uneasy. Blood. It was a jarring moment that left me both in a panic and at a loss for words. My mind was racing with morbid possibilities, each scarier than the last. I decided to hide it for a little bit longer until later in the evening, at which point I remember letting my parents know that blood was appearing whenever I went to the bathroom. I remember my voice shaking pretty badly as I said it, and shortly after we headed to the doctor to see what we could find out. I did some blood work, I did a stool sample test, and we also scheduled a colonoscopy for that September so that I could get a proper diagnosis. Based on the blood and sample results, I was told that based on family history, my mom's side of the family has a frequent history of autoimmune diseases. There were two that the blood and pain could potentially be the result of: Crohn's or ulcerative colitis. Both involve inflammation of the gastrointestinal tract, but UC is more focused on the colon, while Crohn's can be anywhere in the tract. The doctors were leaning more towards a UC diagnosis than they were Crohn's, which calmed me a little bit because UC is definitely the better one to have out of the two. But they didn't entirely rule out Crohn's either, which stuck with me until the day of the colonoscopy. Afterward, it was a heavy relief as I was ultimately officially diagnosed with ulcerative colitis, inflammation of the colon. For those wondering why UC is actually better to have than Crohn's, despite both having similar symptoms, there's a few. For one, unlike Crohn's, UC is actually curable if it ever gets to an unbearable level. Sure, it may involve surgically removing the entirety of the colon plus some other things, but who needs that anyway? People remove their appendix all the time, right? Colon's like, what, a secondary appendix or something? So, besides that, there's no evidence that involves UC being affected towards a shorter lifespan, while there is with Crohn's. Plus, like I said earlier, UC is really only in one area, while Crohn's can be kind of everywhere. Both can really hurt though, so in the quality of life department, you'd rather have neither. It also just takes away all of your energy. Combine that with depression, another illness that takes away all of your energy, and you can probably imagine what double no energy is kinda like. That's me quite a lot of days, but I kinda have to make do because I have school, I have work, and I may have an internship upcoming if I get accepted. That might be the next video though. After the diagnosis, I began treatment. The early days involved frequent infusions at the hospital that would last for several hours, primarily Remicade, which I personally don't think was really effective. Be that as it may, while I kept getting them every couple of months, I was fortunately able to enter a remission period for a couple of years. However, around when COVID started up might have been one of the worst possible times to come out of it. At that time, I was taking medicine that weakened my immune system, so I was at an extra risk for COVID to do real harm if I got it. It was pretty scary, getting diagnosed and realizing that I had a chronic illness that would probably handicap me for the rest of my life. And then on top of all that, there's COVID-19 and all its horrible potential for us. And then we had to figure out how to manage my UC against that backdrop. I've been more paranoid about germs ever since. I don't do handshakes anymore, I constantly use hand sanitizer. Every time I do anything, I have to think, not just about how to treat UC, but also making sure I do what I can to not get COVID. I'd say so far its peak was back in February of 21, when I had to be admitted to the hospital for a little over 2 weeks after the pain got way too unbearable, and also losing about 20 pounds in a week. At that point, the doctors officially updated the diagnosis to pancolitis, which is just one of the more severe forms of UC. I've managed to continue making content for YouTube even with it, but it hasn't been easy. There were days when I was too physically exhausted to even think about recording a video. There were times when I had to stop working on videos because of sudden flare-ups. It has made a significant impact on how I make videos. I've had to schedule my life around hospital visits, treatment days, and I've had to deal with the mental toll of having this long-term and mostly incurable health condition. Right now, I think I'm in another kind of remission period, but not completely. I had a previous colonoscopy back in February, and the doctor said that it looked perfectly fine, except for big polyps, which is the concern right now. I'm currently scheduled for yet another colonoscopy in June to check on that tissue to make sure no leftovers start affecting anything. I had to do more blood work just 3 days ago, and I'm scheduled to go in for a look at my bones to make sure the inflammation isn't destroying my bone strength. So it's still affecting a lot of my life, even 8 years after the initial diagnosis. I don't know what it'll look like in a year, 5 years, 10 years. I don't know if I'm on an inevitable path towards colon cancer or not, but despite what happens, I'm hoping I'll be able to put up a strong battle and continue making these videos for you guys. Thanks for tuning in. I do hope you got something out of it. It's not something that's super easy to talk about, but I thought the time was due. Comment something you ate today down below. I may be able to tell you if it's something I try to avoid due to it or not. And with that, I will see you guys next time. Peace.